not with, well, I mean, he's alive, but Steve Buzzard is not on with us today. And Jason Ross is on with us every day, who did the post game after Kings games with Steve Buzzard. And our next guest, who is the reason it's KHTK is because of Kozimor, which starts with a K. You can't have KHTK without Jim Kozimor, who was nice enough, or I don't know, dare I say, maybe not professional enough to allow me airtime on his evening show, 7 to 9, CB 1140, time and time again. We always enjoy having him on the airwaves. It is the one, the only James T. Kozimor. Good morning, Koz.
Oh, good morning, everyone. What a great introduction. Thank you so much. It's always great to be back on in the capital city, and I'll probably end up in tears at some point during this conversation. That was some of the greatest times of my life in broadcasting, and the connection with the fans is spectacular. So KHT Coz lives on for just a couple minutes with you guys.
It was a whole different world. We haven't really gotten into the philosophical Coz, but you know, the just for us and for you guys, really, I was a fan calling into your show, but the part of it was every game wasn't on television, which I know to the kids today is like, what? But no, you didn't have league pass. You had things, somebody would call it a satellite game, where you go to your local sports bar and gather around and watch the Kings in Minnesota or whatever. Or in many cases, as we did at my house, you'd turn on KHTK, you'd listen to the whole game, the G-Man doing the call or you doing the call, and then you'd want to listen to the post game. And then at night, it was calling into your show. It was talking to Grant before that, Rise Guys. And it was just, I long as a radio host, Coz, I can't imagine what it was like to do a show. Not that you didn't have to do hard work, but man, you didn't have to work for that much content back then during the season.
No, you really didn't. The enthusiasm of the people in Sacramento and Kings fans in general, and I know you can speak to it because you were part of that. I know Jason can speak to it because he was also a part of it on a different side. It was just a huge family that no matter where you went in the community, you only talked about the Kings. It was the water cooler topic the day of, the day after, the day leading up to the next game. It was just such a great experience. It is the one, to me, it's the last great thing that brought us all together. We have so much that divides us now. That was the one great thing that brought us all together. And it was just a fantastic time to be in the 916.
And Coz, I think about that time where, I mean, you were doing the show all the time then. Dave and I think about it now. Like, the arguments were, is Weber the guy to get us over the top? Can Rick Adelman truly win a championship now? Or it's like, can the Kings win 35 games? I mean, what a different time where it was just the subtlety in how great they were. Were they just good enough at that time? That's all people really worried about.
Yeah, it's really the fun stuff was, who's going to get the last shot? Should it be Mike Bibby or should it be Webb? Or is Webb a better distributor? Is he really a superstar? Remember that conversation?
Oh, yes.
Is Webb really a superstar? That was a couple of days of content right there. It was just so much fun. And you know what? We were living in a different time as well. For the first time, Sacramento got a taste of Hollywood. And I know that there's a lot of split decision on the ownership group at the time, but the Maloof family did bring Hollywood to Sacramento, whether you liked it or didn't like it. And it was neat when Tyra Banks showed up.
Yeah.
And it was neat when they brought some B-level celebrity to the game, and people became celebrities going to the game. It was, you know what? They weren't games. I'm probably wrong to say it. They were events. They were happenings. Anytime there was something going on at Arco, it was a happening. And that's what made that time so incredibly different.
Jim Kozimor with a shout out to the late, great Penny Marshall, by the way, one of those Kings fans that would show up.
You're so right.
So, and it wasn't, and this is a little inside baseball, but to your point about how we were all a family and everybody gathered, you're talking about a group of people, and just imagine this. So one of my fondest memories, period, this is weird, but as a fan who looked up to everybody, not just on the Kings, but everybody connected in the broadcast, for example, Jason and Coz and all you guys were my heroes. Sure. And Coz, I won't say where, because why not? But Coz was nice enough because he had come into some credits at a local establishment, a local eatery, if you will. And instead of just hoarding those for himself, what did Coz do? Coz took us all out many times to a wonderful dinner. And you're talking about early 20s, and Mikey, I think, was a high teenager there, late 20, whatever. We didn't have a lot of money to rub together, whatever. But Coz would take us out. We'd have a nice steak dinner or whatever, and we'd sit around and we'd talk about the Kings. We talk about the run. We talk about all of this, even though it was their jobs. You've got caller and host and play-by-play guy and all these people talking. And by the way, shout out to Kevin Sheretz for always tipping the most. Here's the thing.
I was going to mention that, by the way. He's the one guy who, when everything was done, he would then call the waitress over and order something to go. It'd be like a dessert and an appetizer to go. Like, well, he's not paying for it. So.
Well, it was a family environment, Coz, and I think there's stories like that all around Sacramento that were built around really the success of this ball club.
You know what? You're right. It was a different time, and that story that you tell is so true about the way everyone was. You didn't. You know what? We weren't elitists. No. We didn't just hang out with a certain group of people. We hung out with everyone because we were all common in that we were Kings fans. Even those of us who worked in the broadcast. I bet when you talk to G-Man, he will tell you that he is a legitimate fan. There were times he missed shows, and I remember talking to him that he would be on the road doing his auto racing, and he's in his room, and he said he's jumping up on the bed because the team's on a run and they're doing things. And that's just what it was. That dinner, discussion that you just gave everyone was such a great time, and I look forward to it so much to talk to you guys all the time. And I didn't care if it was like just broadcasters are going or just a certain level of broadcaster. If you were an intern, if you were a fan, we would go play. People were so kind and gracious in Sacramento whenever we were there. And I will tell you this, that's the one thing that time had, a connection to the fan base. They knew who their fans were. And you can say that you didn't like management at the time or whatever it was, but they cared about the fan. And that's the biggest thing that I take away from that amazing run of 61 wins.
Yeah, and Coz, I feel like the team embodied that too. Look, I mean, Shaq and Kobe are legends in their time and of greatness of all time. But I don't know that, of course, Laker fans loved them. But are those guys out and about and feel truly connected to Los Angeles, where I felt like the Kings were made up of a wide variety of types of personalities and people? But, man, it felt like they connected so well as players to the community as well, like you're saying.
How many times did we take a phone call that someone saw Vlade at Raley's smoking a cigarette in the parking lot? Right. How many times did we take that call? It was, or Peja was at a place downtown after the team got back from a game in Portland.
Smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. I know. How funny is that? It was, it was just, it was the common group. I mean, Scott Pollard would walk somewhere and I saw people, start to tear up just at him being there. But he was a regular average guy who'd be more than happy to take a picture with you, put his arm around you. So you're right. That was all part of it too, is that I think the players understood it. And maybe Chris Webber's the best jumping off point for that discussion because he didn't want to come here. It was bound to deter. Rick Bucher told us how many times. The great Rick Bucher told us he wasn't going to play here. Then when he played here, he wasn't going to sign here. And when Chris Webber left this team after a trade to Philadelphia, the thing that sticks in my mind is that video of him walking to the plane, stopping and turning around and looking back. And you could see in his eyes, I didn't want to be here, and this is my home. This is where I was most accepted as an athlete. That's what that town did to a guy like Chris Webber.
As I remember, in fact, the YouTubers are seeing it. Turn my back, put the peace sign over my shoulder. That image of Chris Webber walking to the plane. What did I say, Jason, earlier in the show? I said every time we have Coz on, the one takeaway, other than fantastic radio, is how the hell did that interview go that quickly? We've been out of time, Coz. We could talk to you all day, and I say this every time. We don't have you on enough, mainly because your agent always tells us no, and I understand that. but we do need to visit. It is not true.
I'd be happy to come on anytime. I honestly would. This is why I'm going to turn now. This will always be my home, and my life is about to take a big turn here in the next couple of months, and just everyone in Sacramento know my family cares about you deeply, and I loved my time there. So thank you very much.
Coz, we love you. We absolutely love you. You know that. I look forward or not to hearing more on.
Thank you.
And listen, your wife, your daughters who are way too old, and I can't deal with it.
Madison graduates tomorrow.
Graduation day.
Oh my God.
Woo.
Well, you know what?
I
Hey, listen, you know this run and everything that happened, and I know you're going to be modest because that's who you are. But when you think about all the pieces of that pie, because I was just talking to Christopher Lott, even though it wasn't 2002. Jason says the biggest call in Sacramento Kings history, the biggest moment, perhaps shot in Sacramento Kings history. Kevin Martin, King Spurs. That's you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all you've done for the franchise and for the fans. We love you to death.
Thank you. I think the same back to you guys as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. I love all you guys.
Love you too, Koz.
Thank you, Koz.
That is Koz. We'll take a break. When we come back,